Oh man, there I am. Hey everybody, David Costa, Renegade Aviator. Welcome back to Moses Lake Live. I got to keep track of what podcast I'm on at any given time. But Moses Lake Live for the Moses Lake Air Show, 15 and 16 June 2024. It is Father's Day weekend. And as I say each and every week, your daddy, your father, wants you to take him to the Moses Lake Air Show, June 15th and 16th. It's going to be a great event. We've got a lot of stuff happening. Today, I've got a very special guest. And before I introduce her, I just want to give a couple reminders. The first reminder is go to MosesLakeAirShow.com and buy your tickets, because you can't go to the Moses Lake Air Show without tickets. So go there, buy your tickets, tell them that Dave Costa, Renegade Aviator, sent you, and they'll be sure to cheer and do all that good stuff. In the meantime, when you buy your Moses Lake Air Show ticket, and if you reach out to me at my email address, which is renegadeaviator@gmail.com, I'm going to send you, because you bought a ticket to the Moses Lake Air Show, I'm going to send you a free decal on me. You don't even have to pay for the stamp, because I'm just a hell of a guy. Look at that. Anyway, and because I'm not feeling good today, I'm about half throttle, so I'm feeling generous. So go get your tickets, MosesLakeAirShow.com, 15 and 16 June. Without further ado, I want to introduce somebody, Major Lindsay Johnson, call sign Mad. And she's the A-10C demo team commander and the pilot. The A-10 is one of my favorite airplanes because I'm a former U.S. Marine grunt. So I've got to see these aircraft up close and personal, in action, live against enemy targets. We still fight enemies. But anyway, without further ado, let's introduce Major Mad Johnson. Major Johnson, welcome to Moses Lake Live.
Hey, David, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here, and we're really looking forward to come out to Moses Lake. The Hog's been there previously, and I'm excited, at least personally, to be able to be one of the people to take it out there again for our last season.
Yeah, you know, it's bittersweet because, as we said, it's the A-10 is not a new airplane. It's been around for a long time, and its mission has kind of changed, hasn't it? From when it first came out, it started out as a tank buster, right? That was its primary role.
Yeah, so it was designed in the 70s by Fairchild Republic. Fairchild Republic's no longer at least a company anymore, and we're actually getting to go to an air show up in New York where we'll get to go and see where some of the factories in Fairchild Republic used to be later on, kind of hopefully pay some homage to those that helped work on it. But it was designed around the gun, so the GAL-8 Avenger 30 millimeter Gatling gun. It was designed, like you said, to be a tank buster. And at least the oldest aircraft that we have, that's our Jungle Paint Scheme aircraft. That's our oldest A-10 that we have, at least on demo, is from 1978. And our newest right now as I say, from for the Black Snake is 1980. But its main mission is close air support. So to provide, support to the men and women on the ground, like you, and when you're in the Marines, that are in close proximity to the enemy. We have other roles that we fly. We do air interdiction. We also do combat search and rescue. That's a huge one of ours. So, and we found ourselves in other roles, but we aren't multi-role, but we can still do a lot of different roles.
Well, you know, and as a combat Marine and as somebody who's been on the ground, it's we need this type of aircraft. I say why. That was my question. Why is it going away? Was there you probably have the official word, if you could kind of just give us an insight to that.
Yeah, so overall, at least, us that fly the A-10 have asked that question many a times, but a lot of it comes down to money, and a lot of it comes down to as well as just the DoD.
All right, you froze up a little bit there. Well, I'm sure you'll come back here quickly.
Still hear you.
Yeah, you just locked up on screen there a little bit. Not a big deal. Hey, Jordan, show some photos while we get the internet caught up. There we go. Nice looking bunch there. One guy in green. There you go. Wait for Mad's internet connection to catch up here. But there's some shots of the A-10, ladies and gentlemen. It is a workhorse aircraft. It's an airplane. Like I said, it's designed to fly low and slow. And right at the nose of the airplane there, you can see right underneath of the nose is a gun. So this aircraft is what I say a gun with an aircraft attached. I mean, that's the whole kind of point of this thing. The pilot sits in a titanium bathtub and is very, very protected. There we go. Let's see, we're having some internet stuff here. Hello. All right. Well, I'll go back to it. So we just adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
So you could, there you go. I got two of you there.
Looks like there's two of me somehow. I don't know how it happened.
I like that. You just morphed yourself. You went through the wormhole. Well, it was the eclipse was just recent.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to blame the eclipse for everything. So you were talking about cost of the aircraft and keeping the airframe flying.
Yeah.
That's where we lost you.
So a lot of it, at least from what we've been told, comes down to money. So the bigger Air Force, as well as the DoD's focus now is on these near-peer fights, and they're focused on creating just a lot more F-35s or next generation air dominance or other bombers. And as our fleet is getting older and older, the focus is a lot more on being able to create those other aircraft, and then have us, the former A-10 pilots, then potentially go transition to the F-35 and still provide that CAS expertise and still have that attack mindset. But the timeline for it is, while the demo is going away this year, we still have A-10s that'll be around till at least fiscal year 28, 29. So it's about 2 squadrons per year. But really the demo going away now is coming down to the fact that we're starting to lose squadrons, and it'll take away from our combat capabilities.
Gotcha. So I mean, this is another reason, since we're here to promote Moses Lake's Air Show, that you gotta, I mean, no matter where you are, if you're anywhere close to Moses Lake, come on out and see the A-10 demo, because you're just not going to see it anymore, so, and unless you're in the military and may happen to see something on an exercise, you're not going to see an A-10 flying. So come on out to the Moses Lake Air Show. And Major Johnson, when you're out flying this, when you're flying your demo, is there certain parts of your act where you're emulating kind of your combat role? Is there things that you could explain, so when you're flying that demo, that kind of give the audience a chance to see how the aircraft would be used in combat?
Yeah, so I always say, like, our demo is an opportunity for people to see how slow, how fast the A-10 can go. We give you a little bit of aerobatics. Obviously, I'm not doing aerobatics in combat, but it shows, like, at least how maneuverable the airplane is. And then towards the end of the demonstration, we actually execute a 9-line passage, a simulated 9, or we have them pass me the 9-line, and then we do simulated gun and bomb runs. It's not exactly what we would do in combat, what you get to see from me. We do kind of like what we call a squat. So it's an accelerated stall and makes a really awesome sound right in front of the crowd, which is really, really awesome. But it gives you guys a little bit of at least the audience, a little bit of a look as to what it sounds like on the radio when I have JTACs passing me a 9-line.
Right on. And I think, people don't, if you don't understand that, with people are watching, you got troops on the ground that are danger close, and they can look at the enemy half the time, and we're calling for fire. We're calling for air support. We're calling for artillery support, whatever we can get. And just the impact of this, I'm putting my fingers up, the slow A-10. Slow is a relative word, right? So that ability to fly low and slow and to be as maneuverable as you are allows you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but allows you to get in tight enough so that that enemy can be destroyed and keeps people alive on the ground. And you're actually able to be a part of something. I mean, maybe talk about that a little bit. You're impacting that battlefield a lot differently than an air superiority fighter might do that.
Yeah, so that's why the men and women on the ground love it so much, is our ability to loiter and our ability to get close. So I can say that I can physically see friendlies and the enemies with my eyeballs. And if I can't see them, I at least have like a terrain reference point or something on the ground that I know the enemy is to the east of this ridge line or to the east of this tree line or whatever. And I know the friendlies are to the west of it. So that is what the Hog is so good at. That is what the A-10 pilots are so good at, is our ability to be able to work with those people on the ground very quickly and then be able to provide support in a very fast manner. What I always said downrange for me, I was deployed to Afghanistan in summer of 2019 to early 2020 out at Kandahar, is the missions that I was able to come back, whether I employed or not, but those that I was supporting on the ground were able to accomplish what they wanted to do during whatever it was they were going to do. If that was armed overwatch, or they were going to go on a convoy to get from point A to point B, or they're going into a city to clear, hopefully clear buildings, get rid of maybe Taliban that they know were in those known cities. If I was able to provide the support that was needed, whether that was just being close enough overhead that they knew we were there, so that way they were not messed with, or whether that was to actually go and employ and get to do what we practice to here home station, as long as I knew that they were safe, that's all that mattered. And we leaned on all the training that we did before that, before going on those deployments, to be able to actually execute those missions. But it's such an incredible airplane, and it's very, very reliable, and that's what's so awesome. And I've had a lot of experiences while in this demonstration role where I've gone to air shows, and at least every air show, if not every other air show, I have someone come up to me personally and say that airplane saved their life. And that is an emotional experience for me. And it probably wasn't me flying the airplane. Most likely wasn't me. But it was somebody that, came before me, or that has been in this community with me, that has provided them that support. Even just being present overhead, as being able to hear the whistle of those engines, that's a game changer for you and the troops that you're on the ground with personally.
Well, yeah, and the Taliban had a word for the A-10, and they called it the Dragon. And the growl of that gun when it goes off, and you would hit it right on the head when you're down in the weeds, and you can look at the enemy and you're taking fire. Just the fact of the sound and knowing that somebody's overhead allows the enemy to get their heads down long enough for you to regroup, re-engage, reassess. And so, and that's what I want people to see at an air show. When I was a kid, the Vietnam War was going on. And so I, as a kid growing up, kind of knew that I might be drafted or see combat one day. So when I went out to the air show, it was cool. I mean, we all, flying airplanes is cool. We're all addicted to airplanes, and that's great. But it's your only chance at these air shows to talk to military aviators like yourself, to talk to the crews, and to see these aircraft up close and personal. And it's patriotic, but it's also that responsibility that goes with a free world, or a free nation. So and we got Ron here talking. So he's sad to see the A-10 leave. I'm hearing that over and over and over again. I'm sure you're more sad than anybody, because it's got to be a cool job, right? I mean, what a cool job in the military to say we're going to go to air shows. I mean, it's I don't know if it gets much better than that.
Oh no, it really doesn't. And we when you get stuck in the grind of the day-to-day grind, whether you're in a combat squadron or you're teaching in a formal training unit with the students, which is what I was doing before, you get so focused on that, what am I doing today? I'm either sitting at the desk or I'm in the tower or I'm flying with the student or I'm instructing in a sim or doing whatever it is. And when you go flying, at least sometimes you're so focused on, from the second you walk up to the airplane, that you don't always get to have these moments where you just get to look outside and be like, man, I'm getting paid to do this really awesome job and fly this incredible airplane. And this job has allowed me to kind of be able to reflect on that a little bit more, because I have these longer cross country flights to and from wherever I'm going, and just be able to think about the fact that, like, man, this is really it's a privilege to be able to get to do what I'm doing.
It is. I mean, how did the whole selection process go with this? So when you're into that A-10 community, do that, when you, what brought you to this path? Was it something you've always wanted to do, or to just, how, U.S. military, right? You go where you're told, but also
Yes.
you get to go, you get to drive some of that. So explain a little bit about what that whole process is like.
So I'll at least go back even further than probably what you're at least asking to, at least in terms of my air show involvement. Is when I went through the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sam Larson, Raz, the F-22 demo pilot. He was a year behind me as well, and he was also there at the academy with me, and we both were on the Wings of Blue, so the skydiving team there at the Air Force Academy. And we were on the demonstration team, so we got to go to air shows. Sam's air show experience dates back to when he was like 6 months old. Mine isn't that much that far, but I got to go to these air shows and experience just the types of inspiration that you were able to have for young men and women that you got to go up there and personally talk to. And while you might not see it afterwards, or might not hear about it till years later, when someone you see at another air show says, hey, you inspired me to do this. But I know personally, as someone that went to an air show and saw the Wings of Blue jump, and saw it was a junior at the time jump, female junior. I was like, wow, that's something I could go do. And that was the whole reason that I wanted to do this job. Was I wanted to be able to go inspire young men and women to either join the military, as well as be a part of a team. That's kind of something that I've never been able to do before, at least in my Air Force experience. So especially on the fighter pilot side, you show up, you get qualified in your aircraft, and then at least the first like 3 to 4 years, your focus is on becoming the best attack pilot ever. And you're focused on going through upgrades. You'll have additional jobs along the way. You might be in charge of a couple other officers, but very rarely are you in charge of larger groups of enlisted members. And this job allowed me to be able to kind of command a team of 11 to 12 personnel. We had 12 last year, 11 this year. For me to be able to see the maintenance experiences, that type of stuff, but has been awesome. But the main, like, at least in terms of like how we got picked up for the job, there is a application process as well as like an interview process. So Gator, who was before me, he and I actually live across the street from each other. But I've known him for a while. But when he was going through the program, I got to be one of his safety observers. So I got to go on the road with him. And that picture of us, yep, that was coming back from Louisiana for us after I'm going through the upgrade at the time. We just did our first off station practice. And that's like one of my favorite photos of us, because it's kind of like him handing over the baton to me. As we're, as he's just an awesome guy, did such a great job helping get me prepared for this job. But during those years that I got to be a safety observer for him, I got to kind of see the behind the scenes a little bit more and realize, yeah, this is definitely something I still would like to go do. Because he and I interviewed that same year. I was still pretty young in my career, and they said, hey, look, if you're interested in this in 2 years after he does this job, interview again if the opportunity presents itself. And I was fortunate enough to still be at Davis-Monthan. I was just moved from the combat squadron there, the 354th to the 357th, and I was instructing students. And I was fortunate enough to be selected for the job and have just been loving every minute of it. I know that was a really long answer for
No,
a short question, but
no, it's actually
yeah.
perfect. And the reason why it's so perfect is because this is what I tell everybody: shut up, show up, and be excellent. So a lot of times, if you want to do something, there's so many excuses people can use. There's so many reasons why people can't or wouldn't or couldn't, right? So I say, shut up and then show up. So here you were showing up again. And a lot of times we show up to do something and it's an ancillary role, right? It's off to the side, as you had just mentioned, that you need to be present and keep going. So this timeline is great. We make it happen, and then the excellence is demonstrated. So this is why I love air shows.
Mm-hmm.
Air shows is excellence demonstrated. Nobody needs to look up and watch you fly and go, you don't have to tell them that you're excellent. The fact that you fly that routine is excellence demonstrated.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got out of the military, I always wanted to be a fighter pilot. I wanted to be an astronaut and a fighter pilot. I didn't go to college, so I wasn't going to be a pilot. I had vision issues. I was a Marine Corps sniper. I could shoot a moving man-sized target at 800 yards, but I couldn't fly fighter jets. I was crushed. I got out of the Marine Corps, and one of my buddies who flew AV8s, this is where aviator comes from, is a Harrier guy. He says, stop your complaining. You live in the greatest country in the world. If you want to fly fighter jets, go buy your own. So I had to take it. So I had to go a different route. So I had to suffer through the indignity. And here I am with 18, 19, 20,000 hours of flying time. And I'm finally doing what we want. But you and I, we have different paths. We all have different paths in life. But we do, and this is why air shows are so important for the kids and adults. Never give up. You can do it until you and I decide we can't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and so it's great to talk to people like you that are out there as that next person that somebody will look to and say, you're the reason I got into aviation. If each one of us could have one person that just said that to, I mean, it changes your whole life.
Oh yeah. And I you made that good point of like, hey, shut up and show up, in terms of, sometimes what we think is a door closing is actually an opportunity for something else. So you not being able to be like, at least in terms of your eyesight, for you to not be able to go be a fighter pilot, it allowed you to get that time in the Marines. And then you have a buddy of yours who tells you, hey, shut up and go make it happen type deal. At least for me, I finished, I graduated in 2014. I showed up. I was supposed to be in the first class of my graduating class from the academy to start pilot training, which was going to be October. I did IFS, which is initial flight screening in Pueblo, Colorado, completed that in early September. And I was like, cool, I got a month. I'm going to start pilot training. And then I'll be a winged aviator in October of 2015. Well, when I showed up to a meeting for us that were in casual status waiting to start pilot training, they said, hey, we're backed up in pilot training. It's going to be a while, but we don't know when you're going to start yet. I was devastated, and I was like, man, how am I going to get to go fly, this? I want to go start doing the mission type deal. And I didn't end up starting pilot training until June of the following year. And I look back on that, and I'm incredibly grateful for that opportunity for me to kind of just relax a little bit after 4 years of just getting crushed for a while at USAFA, and allow myself to be able to reset. And when I looked back at that class in October of 2015 that graduated, they only had one fighter drop. And when I graduated, which ended up being, so I ended up getting washed back 2 classes for some medical issues. I also was once again like, man, this stinks. But I graduated in August of 2016, and my class was one of the first classes that started to get a ton of fighters in the drop.
Hmm.
So we had an A-10, an F-15E, so a Strike Eagle, an F-22, and an F-15C. And that was all 4 of us that were active duty that were able to get that. And
That's cool.
we're incredibly fortunate. And it's luck, timing, and skill, and in that order. And there's no justice for it. And
Sure.
so it's really what it comes down to. And incredibly fortunate that the timing and luck, which luck comes with a lot of hard work too. You have to have the hard work to even have that luck on your side. But I was just incredibly fortunate for that opportunity.
Well, but see, you're right on track with that. Yeah, luck has a lot to do with things, but look how lucky you get when you keep going, you keep trying, you keep showing up. But in the end, excellence matters. And as you know, right? I mean, you can have anybody that does anything. It's the excellence that matters, and that's where it all comes together. And as aviators, there's not a luxury in aviation to be anything less than excellent. And this is what's so key at an air show. Speaking less military now, more air shows, that when you look at pilots, like Mad flying her airplane or any of the air show pilots, you're not you're seeing one display. But imagine the work that it took to get there. I think that's when you start realizing that, which is why you would mention the word being grateful. It's a lot of gratitude to get to fly out in front of people. There's a nice shot. Who are all these people?
So I saw someone mentioned, hey, I think it's Breaks Off Media, which, hey, Jeremy, how's it going? He mentioned, hey, what was it like being able to lead the first female 4-ship for a heritage flight? This happened this year in March here at Davis-Monthan. It's me, Bayo, Mock, and Rebel, and it was an awesome experience. This was our last flight for all of us, at least during heritage flight. Our first iteration, I got to be in the front and leading our 4-ship, and it was just an awesome experience. It's something that I'm fortunate enough to say now we kind of take. I don't ever take it for granted, but we're getting to a place where we're starting to see a lot more females that I hope it doesn't even have to be a topic of discussion anymore. In terms of, hey, look, we're all here. We can get the job done. Bayo said it before, and we all say it is, hey, I put the helmet on, and nobody knows. The airplane doesn't know if I'm female or male. It just knows if I'm putting in the right inputs and doing the right job. And so it was a really cool experience for us to see. And I had a great friends. Kelly Hudson was the air boss at the time. We had a female who was narrating it. Yep, Sawyer.
Kelly's great.
Yeah, Kelly's awesome. Sawyer, she was the F-22 safety observer. She narrated for us. And then a great friend of ours, Steph Strickland, was there just coming to watch the whole experience. And to hear her say how incredible the experience was to just go and watch us all step to the aircraft once that we are fully mission capable and flying, and go do it like it's our job, because it is. And it was something that was super awesome. And I'm incredibly grateful we had the opportunity to go do that.
Yeah, when I was first flying, I was brand new private pilot and I saw this pit special in the traffic pattern. And, I was like, I want to do that, right? A brand new pilot, and just basically, the license was still wet. And so everybody was like, well, you got to wait. You shouldn't be flying that airplane. Yeah, it's hard to fly, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, when the plane taxied in, I saw this long hair come out of the helmet, right? And so she became a very good friend of mine, Marilyn Hubbard. And this is years ago. So remember, I'm an old guy. So this is back before ForeFlight and before, So she taught me aerobatics, and if you called her a female pilot, she would have knocked you on the side of the head. She's like, look, she goes, I'm a pilot. I do what I do. I love aviation. She goes, I'm just as sick as you are. And this is, New Jersey people. So she's like, and she was fantastic. But she taught me aerobatics. And again, she never she never made excuses because she didn't have to, because excellence is demonstrated, is kind of what I talk about. And I've got 2 daughters. And so my daughters are raised to be strong women. And, it's the same thing. So you're right. The airplane doesn't know who's flying it. But I think too many times people have allowed the excuses to change how they thought. So yeah, good on you. We need pilots in general. We need aviators, even more importantly. Just a little bit of a dig against the F-16 crowd. I got to fly an F-16. I lost all respect for the F-16, easiest plane in the world to fly. So an A-10 to me is still an airplane that you physically fly. And I really want people to come out to the Moses Lake Air Show and see this thing, because in the world of fly-by-wire, nothing against this stuff. These are weapons platforms. They ought to be easy to fly because you're engaging weapons. But the A-10, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the A-10 is still an airplane that requires a pilot at those controls. This is not the push-button airplane of the now, the Gen 4, Gen 5 type aircraft and future. Nothing wrong with automation, but you get to fly. I think it's a cool airplane. So, I mean, I'm thrilled to death to have you to be able to talk to us about. Is there anything about the airplane, kind of cool things, or some people may not know as we kind of finish up here, that's really cool about the A-10 that really struck you as a pilot?
So first, I can't completely knock at least the F-16, F-22, or F-35. It like you said, I've never flown them, so I don't necessarily know, but they are fly-by-wire versus us. Everything I'm flying, I have a stick that's in between my legs. I've got throttles. Everything's connected by pulleys and connections. So I am the one physically moving. If I do something wrong, if the airplane does something wrong, it's because I've done something wrong, type of deal. But I can't say at least anything against them. What they do, they're still having to work really hard. They're still asking everything of the airplane, but the computer has to say for them, for sure. First off, I saw Derek Allen replied, welcome back home from your deployment. Looking forward to seeing him out at Moses Lake as well. I think he's going to be doing some announcing. But in terms of what's super awesome about the airplane is, I love the airplane. I talked about in terms of its how reliable the airplane is. My parents love that I fly the airplane because of how reliable it is. A lot of redundant systems in it. But, everybody wants to talk about the gun. So the gun in that picture you guys got right there obviously starts at the beginning, and then right before the wing line is where it ends. And it goes all the way back there. It's huge. And there are infamous pictures when they were starting to design the A-10 of the gun completely out of the aircraft right next to a Volkswagen Beetle. That's how large the gun system is. We can carry technically up to 1,174 rounds of 30 millimeter. I brought this here with me to show truly how large the 30 millimeter is. So this is a shell, and then this is this is the actual shell, and this is a replica of how large the bullet is. So 1,000, we normally just carry 1,150 of these, and it's 70 rounds a second, 3,900 rounds a minute. So it's a lot of weight in a very short period of time. But what's so awesome about the gun is how reliable it is and how accurate it is. So when the A-10C came around, they designed what's called Pack-1. So we have a heads-up display, so a HUD that has a pipper on it. So that pipper is our gun sight. Think of it for you as a sniper. That's our gun sight. People might not know exactly what a pipper is, but think of it as our gun sight. That's bore sighted to the gun, and it's wind corrected as well. So when we roll in, we find a target. The trigger itself has 2 detents. So we roll in, we have the actual pipper on the target. We engage the first detent of the trigger, and that engages what's called Pack-1. Which stabilizes all of our flight controls. So unless I were to take the stick and aggressively move it, or I hit just a ridiculous amount of turbulence, as soon as I engage the second detent, the gun's going to start to fire and it's going to hit what I'm shooting at. So that is what's so amazing about this airplane, and how incredibly accurate the gun system is. And it shakes the whole aircraft. Gun gas, it'll block my ability to look out the heads-up display for about a second while it all dissipates. And we also have, you can't really see them in this picture, but forward edge slats that open up as we're shooting the gun that help. You can kind of see them over where the left gear pod is. If you go, at least while you're looking at it, where it has 244, if you go to the left, you can see those leading edge slots. Those will pop up as we're shooting the gun, and it helps dissipate at least the gun gas. So that way it doesn't end up going into the engines and creating any other issues. Or people always talk about, hey, you've stalled. People ask about, oh, do you stall the aircraft when you're shooting the gun? No, we used to have some compressor stalls from that gas before we created the leading edge slots, but we are accelerating in the dive as we're shooting the gun. No, we don't feel a pushback at all from the gun at all. Because we're still shooting in excess of 300 knots. Nice.
Is there any chance, even at one last show, you guys will fire the gun at an air show?
No, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to carry blanks. I'd have the FAA coming after me if I decided to try and go shoot the gun. But with how heavy the bullets are as well, when I execute the demo, we don't have rounds in the aircraft. That's also a whole liability issue as well, to have have rounds there too. But oh yeah, that picture, I love that. I had a young man that I got to interact with earlier on. His older brother was part of the Civil Air Patrol, and he got to come along, and we showed him the airplane. And after we this was earlier on in the practice day. After we interacted later on in the day, he came up to me and he gave me that picture. He said, I drew that while you were doing your ground ops and while you were flying. And it's actually a really, really good picture. And I have that stashed away as a way for me to remember, hey, these are, even at like young men like himself were out there to be able to go inspire me.
Very cool.
Hopefully.
Very cool. So ladies and gentlemen, when you go to the air shows, you're missing out if you don't go find the performers. Almost all of us will come out and meet the crowd. Matt, it looks like you love doing it. That's a great picture of you there kneeling down. So it really is part of what the fans need to do, is go out and seek out the pilots, right? I mean, we all love to talk to people and get your questions answered. I bring up even though it's Air Force, Lieutenant Colonel Roger Power. That's a cute one. That's my best
friend's it's my best friend's son. So, Dakota, he goes by DJ, and her husband used to be a part of the Thunderbirds. So it was awesome to have, and she was on the Wings of Blue with me. So it was awesome to be able to see him out there.
Very cool.
Hey, David, the one thing I want to say is, it's awesome for me to be able to go talk to people and inspire them to be pilots. And what I do is really, really awesome. But I can't do what I do without the other 10 members on my team. I have a public affairs specialist, and then I've got 9 other maintenance members on the team. And yep, that picture there is perfect representation. So those gentlemen are the reason I'm able to go do what I do. And they are doing tireless efforts to keep the aircraft, as we call Code 1. So good enough for me to be able to go fly, especially if I come back and tell them, hey, sorry, I broke this, as I'm going out there and executing the demo. So I love each and every one of those guys. Like they're a part of my family, because at this point I consider them a part of my family, and they work really hard. They go on the road with me, and they work hard when we're home station as well. And they've got families that they're supporting too, but I can't do what I do if it wasn't for them. But they're realistically, at least when you look at terms of recruiting, they're the ones that people are most likely going to go do, get to go be a part of maintenance or be a part of public affairs, because not everybody makes that decision to go to college, or not everybody has the ability to go to college, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Or like, for instance, for you, where you had issues with your eyes, weren't able to go fly for the military. So in terms of young men and women, I just want to at least highlight that it's not just me going out there and inspiring people. It's these gentlemen that are on the team with me too.
Right on. And, I mean, a shout out to anybody who's maintaining aircraft, because as much as we need pilots, we need people to get in and, maintain these aircraft, and not just in the military, but even in the, civilian world. I fly Gulfstream corporate jets, and we need people of all types and all kinds of skills in aviation. So right on. And like you said, Matt, I mean, you can't get the glory of flying without the airplane being able to start and taxi to the end of the runway.
Yep, exactly.
And as my crew chief says, if you stop breaking the airplane, we could fly it more. So it's
exactly
very, very cool. And Derek, I see you shouting out there. Derek's a great guy. I got to meet him last year. Fantastic guy. Right on. So, I promised you 30 minutes and we went long, but it was worth it, because love what you're doing. I'm super, super sad to see the A-10 go away. I know you are as well. And I just thank you for coming on our event here. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person when we're out there in Moses Lake together.
We're very much looking forward to it. I just want to say thanks so much, and thank you for hosting us. And we're looking forward to being out there in Moses Lake. Hopefully, we have some great weather, and as we say in the community, attack.
I like that. Very, very cool. Thanks a lot, Major Johnson. I really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to seeing you. And ladies and gentlemen, get your tickets. Your father wants you to go to the Moses Lake Air Show. Father's Day. Even if you don't have a dad, go find somebody else's dad and bring him out to the air show. And, dads, bring somebody with you. So once again, MosesLakeAirshow.com. Again, this is David Costa. I am the Renegade Aviator. See ya.